This avalanche safety report is brought to you by MTN-TV. Learn more at MTN-TV.com.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Shannon Lukens with MTN-TV, and Brian Lazar is back, as always, full of good information from the Colorado Avalanche Information Center. Brian, tell us what is happening this week.
All right. Well, we've had a slow decline in the avalanche danger as we've moved further away from last week's storm event. And so you can see it across most of the state, we're sitting at moderate avalanche danger. That's level 2 out of 5. And that's because it's been several days since our last loading event. The snowpack's had some time to adjust, which means the chances of triggering an avalanche have gone down. The resulting consequences, if you do find the wrong spot, haven't changed all that much. And we're likely to increase danger again, as you can see here, as we move through Friday because of a storm that's going to arrive Thursday. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I do want to show why our avalanche hazard has been decreasing. And you can see it reflected here in the number of avalanches over the last week. So as you move further and further away from last weekend's storm event, you can see the number of avalanches have been on a steady decline. And again, this just indicates that the chances of triggering these avalanches has gone down over the last several days. But it was an active week. You know, we had 8 people caught in 8 separate incidents. 1 person was buried and 1 person was seriously injured, requiring an airlift. And I want to show you what some of these avalanches look like, because they're really indicative of the types of avalanche activity we're going to see with an uptick in danger because of the storm that's arriving Thursday afternoon and into the evening. So a lot of the avalanches that have been triggered are being triggered from localized shallow spots in the snowpack. So they're not often triggered by where you can see the deepest part of the crown or the fracture line here, but by these thinner areas. And they all have really common characteristics. A lot of these thinner areas where the avalanches are breaking are in steep convex rolls with localized shallow spots in the snowpack, which are often around rocky terrain. So when you see rocks poking through the surface, like in these images, you can expect that there's localized shallow spots nearby. Here's a really steep slope approaching 40 degrees. It's a localized shallow spot because it has previously avalanched numerous times this winter. This is the one that caught the skier, raked them into the trees, resulting in serious injury and an airlift to the hospital. And again, here's an area, these kinds of slopes are going to have a lot of localized shallow spots on the snowpack, in this case due to wind scouring and wind drifting. So you can see big plump pillows of deep snow right next to bare ground, which means at some point the slab gets really thin, and it's much easier for us to trigger avalanches where that slab is thinner because the weak layers are just closer to the surface. And so again, here, if you look in the upper left, you can see rocks poking through the surface, which are a good clue that you're going to have localized shallow spots very close nearby, like in this snowmobile triggered avalanche near Breckenridge. And a couple more examples. Again, steep convex roll right near rock outcroppings, which means we're going to have localized shallow spots in the snowpack, which is exactly what happened here with snowmobilers triggering this avalanche. So if we can avoid terrain features that look like this, these steep convex rolls near rocky areas where we know there's going to be a lot of localized shallow spots in the snowpack, we can greatly reduce our chance of triggering an avalanche this weekend and into early next week.
And Brian, I hear we might be getting a lot of snow this weekend. How will that affect the avalanche concern?
Yeah, it's going to lead to an uptick in avalanche danger, and there's a couple reasons why. One is just the load itself. So we're getting quite a bit of snow. It's a good shot of snow starting Thursday, and by the time we get to Saturday afternoon, you can see we have a widespread, 7 to 15 inches. These are these yellow to red colors that you can see here on the map. In some of the favorite areas of like the San Juan Mountains, the Grand Mesa, the West Elks, Flat Tops, and into the Park Range, we could be pushing 20 inches of snow. So that's a pretty rapid load on our buried weak layers, which will lead to an uptick in avalanche danger. But what's really going to tip the balance here is that it's coming with a lot of wind. So this is the wind forecast. These purple and blue colors are 15 to 30 mile an hour winds. The yellows are 30 to 45. And you can even see some of those red colors come in, which are, in excess of 45 miles an hour before winds finally calm down mid-morning on Saturday. That's going to drift all of this new recent snow into a wind slab avalanche problem. So we're going to take all that new snow that's falling, drift it onto leeward slopes, and that will not only load our buried weak layers, but it will present a threat from avalanches in the storm snow all by itself. And these two things are going to overlap. The storm is coming in with west to southwest flow. This will drift the snow onto essentially north through east aspects, and that's have already been our most worrisome slopes, where we have our buried persistent weak layers. So if you can kind of take all this information in, it means that these thin, rocky areas with steep convex rolls, particularly on the north side of the compass, including some upper elevation easterly aspects, are going to be the most dangerous slopes. These southerly facing slopes that have thick supportable crust will offer safer riding options. And if this all sounds too complicated, you can always stay safe by just choosing low angle terrain, which means slope angles 30 degrees or less without steep hazard overhead.
Okay, Brian, thank you so much for your help with everything and keeping us informed. And always check your website, right?
Yeah, you can get current avalanche conditions at colorado.gov/avalanche. I know we sound like a broken record, but it's yet another dynamic weekend. The storms keep wanting to come on the weekend. So check colorado.gov/avalanche for the local forecast, or you can get that information on the CAIC mobile app.
Okay, I'm Shannon Lukens for Mountain TV with Brian Lazar. Stay safe out there.